Hey everyone, so today's episode, the only note is I keep saying semicolon when I mean colon, so that is one confusion. And at the end, no recommendation for music, but there is a little homework, so please stick around till the end. Okay, guys, welcome to episode 3 of my Sonic Pi tutorial series. Some of you will remember this is the beat we created for the last tutorial. And of course, before we start, I have to plug my album is coming out winter solstice, 21st December. It's called Lovesick for a Strong Woman. Now, I will just say this one thing is that I think some people are confused by this title because somebody thought, or at least I got a hint that somebody thinks I'm trying to imply some kind of BDSM message with this title. So, to clarify things, I'm going to be putting out a video this coming Friday called The Two Jennifers. And this will be a sort of a preamble, not only to the album, but to a Red Pill takedown video that I'm doing. So anyway, all those details will be clarified, but there's a in this video, but that video is coming out on Friday. Okay. So let's jump into this tutorial. Now, what are we covering today? Today, we are covering syntax errors. Okay. And what are syntax errors? Now, I've mentioned this before. Syntax errors are basically things that you um, type into the program. So basically, everything that you're typing here, see this live loop, backbeat, all this kind of stuff, this is syntax that the program understands. But you might make a little mistake, like say you forget this semicolon, and then if I try to run it, my friend over here is running the kick drum and this, but the snare drum is missing, the backbeat, because it says local variable or method sn dub, because I'm just missing this one piece of syntax, which is the colon. Okay. So now, why is this the case? Now, today I actually have three clips lined up for you, uh, which are all from this one of my favorite movies, of course, The Fly. So we're gonna watch um, one of these clips first, okay? Because now all these clips, I have a reason for using these clips outside of the fact that I love this film, but it's gonna illustrate some points regarding syntax because we're gonna cover two types of errors today. One is syntax errors and one is logic errors. Okay. And I'm just going to briefly go over both of these things. So let's first look at this first clip. Okay.
We've got to do this, Seth. Talk to the tape. Get in the habit. The world will want to know what you're thinking.
Fuck is what I'm thinking.
Yeah. This is the frustration with syntax errors.
The
Okay.
world will want to know that.
This is how the frustration goes.
What else? Why didn't it work?
I think it turned the baboon inside out.
Why?
Can't deal with the flesh. It only seems to work with inanimate objects, nothing that's living. Must be my fault.
Why?
Computers are dumb. They only know what you tell them.
Okay. This is the point of this clip. Computers are dumb. They only do what you tell them. Okay. Now, outside of the fact that we're going to be talking about syntax errors, one thing I want you to always to keep in mind also about computers is this fact that computers are dumb. I in the first tutorial that I had done, if you remember, I talked about this thing about how everything that you're typing in the buffer is a set of instructions. Um, and if you make any punctuation error, if you make any spelling error, if you make any kind of like a value error, like say you're typing in a value for amplitude and for whatever reason it won't work for amplitude, but say for some certain parameters you can only go up to a certain number. If you go beyond that number, you'll so any of these errors, the computer is going to be unforgiving when it comes to these syntax errors, and this, like I said, is a huge frustration. And so let's just go over some of the basic syntax errors you can get. Okay, so the first, before we start. So say I want to say sample BD 808. Okay, now let's play this. Okay, so now if I had said sample, okay, first basic misspelling. Obviously, it's going to say undefined method sample. What is sample? Okay, so no such thing. But if I say sample, it's fine because in Sonic Pi, it has things defined for this piece of syntax. So when you say sample, it will do a certain thing. So in so technically, if you were having like last time I told you this thing about Mickey as a variable, you wouldn't be able to name a variable as sample because uh, there's already a piece of syntax in the program called sample. So you'd have to call it like samply or something like that and say it's equal to 0, and then it's fine. It won't do it. It won't do anything. It's like harmless. Okay. So misspelling. Next bit of syntax error is this idea of commas and punctuation. Okay, so let's do live loop BB8 just for fun. I don't know. BB8 sleep one end. Okay. Now, if I had accidentally and I wanted to control a parameter here and say parameter 4 amp 4, and then I put a comma there, but then I kind of like see, I get another syntax error. And the thing is, the way it lists the syntax error, if you look at it, um, does it say which line? It usually tells you which line is there. Line 781. Jeez, I don't know where that comes from. So anyway, sometimes like even if it's trying to tell you where the syntax error is, it's sometimes very hard to see. So this is another thing you're going to be very frustrated with. Like here, it's obvious there's an extra comma, right? But when you are when you've got like 100 lines of code, 200 lines of code, man, trying to find what is the thing that is wrong can sometimes it's so elusive, it's frustrating. Like you just cannot see it. It's like absolutely, even though it might be staring you in the face, it's like you're blind to it. So it's very frustrating. So commas, brackets, like we learned about not things, we learned about rings. Okay, so ring, say I put a couple of values in here. 1.2, 1, 2, choose. See, now my bracket is all backwards. Obviously, it's not going to work. See, look at the weird error I get. But if I put just a normal bracket, all happiness ensues. Okay? And even the types of brackets, because in Sonic Pi, for this, you can't use like, imagine you put two square brackets. I don't even know if it'll read this properly. Does it read? No, it doesn't. Oh, wait, I didn't put the right square bracket. If I put two square brackets like this, see, it doesn't. So it has to be the round brackets, and this is another bugging thing. It's like there are three types of brackets. There's square brackets, there's round brackets, and there's the flower brackets, which look like this. So all these, depending on the type of bracket you use, you can get errors. Okay. Then there's this thing about the semicolon. Like say here I'm saying amp semicolon, and then I'm specifying a ring. But then here I'm saying sample, and the semicolon is in front of the name of the sample. So sometimes you'll get an error like this, like it'll say sample BD8. This doesn't work. So it's all these kind of little confusions that'll screw up all your coding. And see how the color changes also, like depending on where you put the what you call them, the colon. So these are all the various kind of punctuation mistakes. And then punctuation, and it doesn't only extend to like colon, semicolon, brackets. It extends to this whole idea of do end blocks. Like, and this I mentioned in the last one. If I said 4 times Timides, 4 times do, and I forget to put the end, it'll tell me that, buddy, where's the end? Put some end. So for every do, you have to have an end. So it's, this might seem like so basic and it'll never happen to you, but once you start stacking, once you start wrapping stuff in effects, because like if you look at some of my I'll show you some of my code. Like see, I've got 3 effects stacked on this one baseline. So I have to make sure that all these ends. So there's like one, two, three, four do's, and one, two, three, four ends. So once you start stacking effects, this thing you will start losing track, and it's just a matter of adding it, and then you're fine after that, you know. But you will run into these problems, which is really bugging. And then I told you there was this thing about undefined variables. Like if I had a variable here like a, or not a, let's call it bit c. Okay, if I had a variable called bitc, I play, it'd be like undefined local variable or method bitc. So I have to say, you have to tell Sonic Pi, hey, there is a bitc. Bitc is 4. Okay, and then all happiness will ensue. Then there is another thing with parameters, and I had mentioned this in the beginning, this idea of values. So with some of the parameters, let's pick one of these parameters. So I will go over this a bit later, but no, I'm not later. I'm going to go over this in the next tutorial, how to use loops and stuff. But I'm going to show you how this can be a problem. Okay, let's listen to this quickly. Oh, yeah, I forgot. Take this out, take this out. We're going to be manipulating loops for the next one. Okay, but here I just want to illustrate a point. Okay, too slow, too slow. Let's go a little faster. Come on. Okay, so now there are these two parameters called start and finish. Okay, now the way both of these work is you can only use values between 0 and 1 in this case. Okay, so it's like, so what it means is if I went 0.25, okay, but say I can make here also like something that's less than 0.25. I can use 0.75. But if say I went 1.25, oh my friend, value of opt finish must be a value between 0 and 1. So in this case, Sonic Pi very explicitly tells you that okay, you can't do this. Okay, so that's another type of syntax error you'll get. So and we'll be covering loops in the next tutorial, so don't have to worry about this too much right now. Now the last type of syntax error I want to show you is it's kind of a syntax error but not really a syntax error, because it's more like a like you for the program to function you need to do this. So it's this thing about sleep time. So let's do BD house again because I prefer BD house. I can hardly hear the 808 honestly. And let's say I sorry, do end but no sleep time. What is going to happen? It's like loop did not sleep or sync. So this is an important one. It's like you have to have your whatever live loop you have running or whatever function, it has to have some sleep time. And like I said, always keep the sleep time total 1, 2, 4. If you remember the second rule of sleep, 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, and all that. But let's say we kept the value at 0.1. Let's listen to this, okay? You can do this. It's really close, but let's make it like really close. What is sounding? Yes. Now what you get is you get a timing exception because the sleep time is so tiny. It's like Sonic Pi is like freaking out because it's running it too fast. It can't run it fast enough. So you have to be careful of this also. That's why I say minimum sleep time 1. So even if you got a value of 0.25, always do 4 times 2, because then it becomes 1 like that. Okay, so just those things. Now I want to cover something called logic errors. Okay, and let me just quickly go over this. And now we're going to watch these other two clips from The Fly. Okay, this is going to be very important. So I know I'm showing you a lot of clips from this movie, but there is a reason, like I say. So let's go. Okay, first clip. Whatever. Where is it? Okay.
Oh, it tastes funny.
Funny how?
It tastes, synthetic.
Mm-hmm.
So what have we proved?
The computer is giving us its interpretation of a steak. It's translating it for us. It's rethinking it rather than reproducing it, and something is getting lost in the translation.
Me. I'm lost.
The flesh. It should make the computer crazy, like those old ladies pinching babies. But it doesn't, not yet. I haven't taught the computer to be made crazy by the flesh, the poetry, the steak. So I'm going to start teaching it now.
Okay. So this is goes back to this idea of what do you say, that computers are dumb and computers only will do what you tell it to do. Okay. And there are going to be moments when you are going to get not syntax errors but logic errors. Now, if you remember in the last tutorial I did, we had I had this thing where I was teaching about rings, and I was talking about this idea of two ticks, right? So there was BD house, and there was my miscellaneous crow dot tick, and then I had a couple of like sleep values in a ring. I'm not gonna spend too much time on this, but some 5, let's say some 0.25, 1 some dot tick yikka, no tick baba tick. Then let's run this. So this is an example of a logic error in the sense that I wanted it to alternate between the BD house kick and the crow, but because I've got two ticks, it's not hitting the crow. So that's why I put the tick up here and I do all this look. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so this is an example of a logic error, but not all logic errors are bad. Now we're gonna watch the second clip from The Fly, okay? And this is the third clip from The Fly, and this is the last clip, I promise, okay? If you're not enjoying this movie, but it's one of my fave movies, so I can watch it 10 million times. Let's do this.
Seth? I'm here.
Stop.
Seth.
You were right. I'm diseased, and it might be contagious somehow.
If you're squeamish, this is all makeup, okay? So
It will affect you.
this film got an award for makeup only, so.
And it's been accelerating. It's unrelenting every day there. It changes. Every time I look in the mirror, it's someone different, someone hideous, repulsive.
What happened?
I know an old lady who swallowed a fly. Perhaps she'll die.
Seth, please.
I was not pure. The teleporter insisted on your purity. I was not pure.
I don't know what you mean.
A fly got into the transmitter pod with me that first time when I was alone. The computer got confused. There weren't supposed to be two separate genetic patterns, and it decided to splice us together. It mated us, me and the fly. We hadn't even been properly introduced. My teleporter turned her into a gene splicer. A very good one. Now I'm not Seth Brundle anymore. I'm the offspring of Brundle and Housefly.
Good.
Okay. So this would be an example of an unhappy accident in the sense that sometimes your lodge. So also this is one of the reasons I love this film. There's going to be another tangent, but this is one of the reasons I love this film, because if you've seen it, you know that it is a horror movie and like a body horror movie, but it's also this tragedy about, like, having to, like, seeing a loved one sort of, I don't know, taken over by disease, or like in the Notebook, I think, is dementia, but in this one it's like science fiction, but like being helpless in the face of something like that, so um maybe not appropriate for these COVID times, I don't know. But anyway, the idea here I want to convey is about happy accidents. Actually, this is an unhappy accident in that the previous clip you saw, he taught the computer about the poetry of the flesh, but it had an outcome he could not have predicted. And this is like the whole scare of AI. Honestly, this is why everybody is scared of AI. But computers are dumb, always remember that. So now I want to show you an example quickly of a happy accident, and this is one that we'll be covering in baselines also. So I'm just gonna quickly call a synth here called FM. FM is a very popular synth because it's the closest synth that sounds like a baseline. So let's pick some values. I don't know, 24, 26, 28, and what's 24 plus 7? 24 plus 7. Just put 24 plus 7. Fuck it. And put this in a ring. Put dot look. Okay, let's listen to this. Okay, I can't hear it. Let's put an octave. Sound is nice. How about this? Okay, so now say I had a kind of, so this is my happy accent. Basically, I discovered this when I was making a track, in that I had this sort of like a 4-note bass line looping. Let's put like 2 actually. So I could sing on top of this technically, but the point I'm trying to make is what the happy accident was. I had accidentally switched off the tick. And so when you do that, look just is stuck on 0 essentially. So it's just on 24. It's just looping this. And this is actually a wonderful way to switch between verse chorus, I find, because if you have the tick off, you can have it sort of running. You can sing all your verses, and just before the chorus hits, you can switch on the tick, that is alt question mark, and then and it'll start cycling properly because now it's ticking through it. But if I switch it off at any given point, it'll stick to that bass note. If it was 26, it'd stick to 26. So let's stop it. Now it's stuck on 26. So this was a little happy accident that happened to me, because now when I do songs, I use this little trick to kind of switch between verse and chorus for the bass lines. So this was a happy accident. And that pretty much ends the bit on syntax errors. And what I'm going to leave you with, I'm not going to leave you with any recommendations, but I am going to leave you with homework. Okay. And so today's homework is what is called the error challenge, or what. So one thing I haven't mentioned is the person that introduced me to this program is and she has told me to say it like this. It is the artist formerly known as Raya, aka, or also known as Rebecca A. Fernandez. Now, I have to give her a name check because she introduced me to this program, and honestly, this program changed my life when it comes to music. Like, I use it now for everything, for problem solving, when it comes to composing parts, all sorts of stuff. So she introduced me to this program, and as far as I know, I think she's taken a hiatus from the program for now, but that's as far as I know. But in 2017, like, she introduced me to the program in 2016, and in 2017 we were conducting workshops, and workshops that were based on this thing called Me Hack It. So if you go to this website, Sonic blah, 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 there's actually a full workshop here that if you wanted to learn, if you wanted to like start with a piece and end with a piece, this is a full workshop. And it's under what's called a Creative Commons license share alike 4, which means that if you knew how to use the program, you could take these lesson plans, conduct your own workshops, and charge money for it. Okay. This was made by some people in Finland, and it is amazing. But my tutorials are not following this lesson plan solely for the reason that it has this piece of syntax called play, which I avoid like the plague, because when I'm making music, if I had to keep using play, my syntax, my lines, the number of lines of syntax runs into like 150, 200. But because I avoid this one piece of syntax, most of my songs stay within 100 lines. This one is just about 66. Here it's 32. Here it's 65. So these are the kind of numbers that here it's 46, you know. So all my songs, just to keep it like really simple and easy for me to manipulate, I avoid this play syntax like crazy. But I would seriously advocate for you using this workshop if you want to learn. Now, coming back to the error challenge. So if you go to my GitHub, which if you go to the link in my bio on my Instagram, it's there in the link tree, you will see a thing here called the error challenge, okay? And in it, there are 5 pieces of code, which you just, if you click any one of them, you can just copy paste this code. So in this instance, I'll copy it. Sorry, copy. You can copy it, take a blank buffer, paste it in there, run it, and find where the syntax error is. That's the idea, okay? So there are 5 pieces of code here. So you can take any one of them, all of them, and try to find the error, okay? And all you have to do is correct the syntax, run it, and if it's running, you found the error. And I'm going to put the answers up also. Right now, I've only put the errors, but I'll put the answers up on Tuesday in case you guys want to like just do it on your own. But outside of that, this tutorial is pretty much done. And as always, I hope you found this useful, and I will see you in the next one.